Orale! Bienvenidos and welcome to the Familia FFP podcast. Hey, we are on YouTube, Familia. Please make sure to give us a like and subscribe. Really appreciate it. We lo agradecemos bien mucho, mucho. And hey, you know what? You guys know it so well. We are a proud member of the Fantasy Points Media Group, Familia. You know, you've got I've been telling you all through our NFL Insider series, just the great minds that are on here. May have one joining me tonight, but I mean, hey, you got Graham Barfield, Scott Barrett, Tom Brawley, Joe Dolan, Wes Huber. I mean, you know, you got some of the great, some new data coming out from Brett Whitefield and Chris Wecht. I mean, I'm telling you, Familia, when you go to fantasypoints.com, they're going to help you win your league. I'm going to help you win your league because I've been paying attention to them too. And several of them are becoming friends. And you know what? Bringing on one of them right now. But first, make sure when you go to fantasypoints.com, make sure you put in the promo code Familia22. And if you want to put it in Spanish, Familia22. So make sure, and we'll get you 10% off your subscription. So Familia, you know what? They're, you know, I don't want to throw around the word legend when it comes to fantasy football, but I mean, hey, you know what? When I take a quick break from this NFL Insider series, I'm bringing on a name, and I'm just so excited to share the screen with him. I mean, you know, the people who've made the fantasy industry what it is today. I mean, his is one of the first names you hear. I mean, he's the fantasy guru, and you catch him on SiriusXM Fantasy. He's Sundays on DirectTV Fantasy Zone. I mean, he's also one of the founders and owners of Fantasy Points. So this is very much a familia episode. So he really needs no introduction. So bienvenido, amigo John Hansen. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
What's up, George? It's great to be here. I feel a little weird, although I have grown up around Hispanic, Latino people my whole life. I did take French in high school, so I am a little behind on the language here. But great to be with you, George, here to get ready for the year.
Oh, it's all good. You know what? And you know, we're recording this as training camps are opening up, and I thought just to kind of warm us up a little bit, I thought it'd be kind of cool. I mean, you know, I'd love to kind of find out, you know, with training camps opening up, you know, it's been months. It's been almost 6 months of crunching numbers, looking at everything from making projections, making rankings. I mean, Fantasy Points is so good about that, about, you know, projecting some players higher or lower than they are and hitting on that. But I'm curious how your process evolves now that we're kind of like in that reaction mode to the training camp storylines, because I know you're tied into so many of the so many writers and insiders throughout the NFL.
That's a great question, and it is a process. I say often, I said it a lot this year, you know, in June, you know, mid June to now, late July, that, you know, I've gone as far as I can go with these projections because, you know, a certain percentage of them are almost placeholder type projections because they're, you know, position battles that are forthcoming and all that. So, you know, I feel very good about the players that are kind of cemented. Even a guy like Javonte Williams, who's a second-year player, I feel good about where I am with him. I don't think I'll be changing that, barring an injury from him. So those guys are locked in, and now it's just adjusting all the few guys around those, you know, most of the players, and as you go down the board, just making these slight adjustments because I feel like I've been doing this for so long. I do feel like I anticipate a lot of things that happen. So I'm usually way ahead of the ADPs, but now they catch up to me, basically. There's so many darn examples, you know, but even Breece Hall is another one, the rookie. You know, by the time we get to real draft season, he's going to be a third-round pick, you know, and this kid was like a fifth-round pick 2-3 months ago. But yeah, it's just it's kind of homing in just another level, like getting as close as we can look at the upcoming season without seeing the season. So there's about 30 to 35% of the board that I had a week ago I'm already starting to tweak, will be adjusted considerably by the time we get to week 1.
And that is interesting because yeah, you're right. You're talking about the rookies. I mean, there's so much volatility with them. They can, people can go crazy with them. I think one of the guys you've talked about, Damian Pierce, is one guy to keep an eye on, and he's going way late in drafts. I think he's going to go up. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
That is such a great example. Sky Moore is another one. I am just way higher on him than everybody else, but I do feel like, talk to me in a month. I think people will be starting to catch up on Sky Moore, but that Damian Pierce is a great one because I thought as June and July progressed that people would start to see the rest of the depth chart. But in that case, they might be literally taking the GM at heart, and what he said is, basically called him a special teamer. Well, the GM comes from the Patriots building. Don't listen to a word the man says. Damian Pierce is the best running back on the damn roster, and the coaches don't want to lose, so they're going to play their best players. Their best back is Damian Pierce.
yeah. I mean, you were at the Senior Bowl, and I thought I thought he was one of the best, if not the best running back, one of the best running backs in the game. And I mean, he's powerful, fast enough.
Yep.
I've been grabbing him all over the place in best ball drafts, so I hope he pays off big time.
Yeah, he plays with a lot of energy. He's got a little pop. He's good in pass pro. He's good in short yardage. He's just not overly talented. He didn't test all that well, but he's scrappy as hell. So I found myself in my old age to be much more decisive, much less afraid to fail, basically. And I'm just going with it. And so far, so good. And just being decisive like an NFL scout would, because you're an NFL team. You don't want a scout to be wishy-washy. Just tell me, you know what I mean? So I find myself being more decisive like that with a guy like Pierce.
That's what old friend from my Dodger days, Ned Coletti, would tell me he liked scouts to be definitive, and he did not like them. Yeah, you know what? Got no time for waiting for that. No,
I don't want to hear that there are two sides of the story. Give me the right side of the story, and we're going to go with it.
Yeah, exactly. And you trust your eyes, and I trust what I saw. I mean, I only saw it on TV, and I thought he was very, very talented. He's not going to break 80-yard runs, but hey, how many guys do that? So
exactly.
I'll take my chances with him. Now, I'm kind of curious. I thought it was funny how we're recording this right at the day after the Julio Jones signing with the Bucks, and I'm kind of I'd love your reaction because I know a lot of the fantasy points folks have been pretty high on Russell Gage, and then all of a sudden it seemed like his fandom just went nuts. Like they
evaporated.
Yeah, exactly. And I sat there. I'm like, my thing was, Chris got, and Edwin was on my show, and he doesn't expect Chris Godwin to start the season on time, and it might be half a season, maybe even more before he's close to full speed, but you got that. Even with Julio Jones, this is still a team that's going to throw the ball 700 times this year. Am I crazy?
Yeah.
Am I crazy for still liking Russell Gage?
No, I think if anything, I wasn't like feeling it with Gage actually in terms of giving him like a lot of love. This actually probably helps get him down to a place for me where he might be a buy, actually. Like the other guys on the staff are a little higher on him than I was. I saw him last year plenty, and he was pretty good. But, yeah, he made a lot of plays. I saw dudes, like, kind of all over him. He made the plays, but now he's moving on to another team. He had been with Matt Ryan for a while. So maybe this is actually good for Russell Gage because I am not expecting much from Julio. It's the contract. I don't know. It's a little embarrassing. If you get 60 catches, you get 200,000. If you get 70 catches, you get 400,000. Like, geez, man. Like, oh, they really have a lot of confidence in him. So I wouldn't be surprised if Julio just didn't work out. Oftentimes this happens with even a lot of the greats. Chad Johnson tried to end his career with the Patriots. Nope, didn't go well.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. We just whenever guys are finishing off with with a logo that's different. I mean, we're old enough to remember Tony Dorsett as a Bronco or Emmett Smith as a Cardinal. I mean, just those kind of things. Yeah, that's no fun. I just yeah. But Julio, when the legs start going,
That's
that's the
it.
first
Yeah.
sign.
Some of these running backs they just grind it. Like Emmett was just grinding it out, and it wasn't bad in Arizona because he's got great vision. These wideouts, man, they fall off a cliff sometimes.
Oh man, yeah. Age gets them all. Age gets them all, unless it's Tom Brady. I'm curious. Are there two or three storylines that you're kind of really keeping an eye on during this training camp? Just kind of putting a little bit extra the guru eyeballs on them.
Yeah, the KC wide receiver situation, I think, is a big one, and I'm kind of all in on Sky Moore being the pick and Juju being down. No, I'm not into Juju at all. Was way down on him last year too, and somehow people were back taking him somewhat high. I don't get it. He's only commanded a 1-year deal the last 2 years, so the league is saying, yeah, we don't think Juju is the same Juju. Basically, he's got a lingering knee problem. I
Mm.
am very interested to see what Josh McDaniels can do with the Raiders in that division. The whole division, really. I'm not that big on Russell Wilson, but I get it. He's going to be an upgrade, an improvement for all the weapons, and they have a lot of weapons, so they're going to be good. I'm just not really that into Russ, but those Chargers are fascinating.
Oh yes.
The whole division is very fascinating. AFC South, not fascinating at all. Like to see the Bengals. How do they react after that loss? Super Bowl hangover. The QB battle in Pittsburgh, I think, is big. Obviously, the Deshaun Watson story is massive. The Bills without Brian Daboll is front and center. Tua and McDaniel with all that, the new offense and Tyreek and all their new. I love Mac Jones. I am fascinated about him in his second year. Very fascinated by what the Jets have done. I've been complimentary of them for 2 years. What they've done in the draft and free agency, it's been really good. I mean, we can keep going here. Daniel Jones, last chance to win, with Dayball there now. And Jalen Hurts is a big one. Like, if he stinks, they'll pull the plug on him in December because they'll know it's over. If they bench him, it's over. So that's a big one there. Aaron Rodgers, how does he react without Devontae? The Vikings, they could be one of the 3 best offenses in the league this year. They could be a juggernaut. I'm actually down on Tampa a little bit. So we'll say, I know it's dangerous to doubt the GOAT, but for the record, I've been in for the last 2 years. I was very high on them last year. I'm actually also a little down on the Rams.
Oh yes, I remember that.
Yeah, I'm just not. We'll see about OBJ. I'm not a huge Allen Robinson guy at this point. They lost Whitworth. I don't know about their running backs. Their receiving course thin. Trey Lance is a huge one. So, man, it's going to be exciting. I just went through the whole damn league there, and we could do 4 hours of podcasting on those teams.
You know what it is? I still haven't sat down with the writer for the 49ers. He asked to talk in early August, and that Trey Lance is so fascinating. You pointed out something really interesting. Talking about expect on the Rams expecting. Where you kind of were looking at it, it's like, okay, where is the rest of this production going to come from?
Yeah,
and it's like, Cooper Kupp he may not have another Goliath type of season, but I could still see 175 targets and 125 receptions and 1,400 yards really easily. But then who else is going to get it? I mean, I mean, me being a fan, I mean, I feel like I feel like after the Dodgers winning in 2020, the Lakers winning in 2020, and the Rams winning in 2022, I'm kind of like I'm good for a while.
Yeah, you should be. Wow.
I'll be greedy with the Dodgers though.
No,
I'm
yeah,
always
no.
greedy with
I
the
mean, we
Dodgers.
really do with this regime and this group. We really do need two here for sure. But look, Allen Robinson is off to a good start. Apparently, I could see him fitting in. You know, like a run after the catch guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't run all that well now, but 10 yards, his 10 yard split is pretty good. You know, like so you can get him the ball in a quick passing game, short passing game, and but after that, I think they're quite thin.
Yeah, it is. I mean, yeah, Van Jefferson is good, but I don't think he's, yeah, I don't think he's much more than the number 3 guy. So,
I
and
was
I don't.
disappointed in him last year, honestly.
He had some good games at the beginning. It seemed like he was battling a knee issue there, but we're gonna see. We're gonna see. And I always find it interesting because remember he left the Super Bowl celebration because of the birth of his child. So I'm always interested like how players react after they become fathers. So that one will be interesting. I think I'm gonna. You mentioned Brees Hall, the rookie running backs, and we talked about Damian Pierce. The rookie running backs are going to be interesting. Which there's always about. It always seems like there's 5 or 6 that end up with starting jobs by the end of the season. So that are pretty intriguing. Like which ones are going to do that, and the injuries. Michael Thomas is. John Hendricks from Sports Illustrated pointed out to me he thought he was going to be fine, and first day of training camp, he's out there. So,
Yeah,
you know,
I tend to bail on guys when we see a sign of trouble. So
yeah,
I don't know what's going on with this injury and the slow return. The dude literally hasn't done anything in 2 years, so
yeah,
it's weird. No Sean Payton. I'm not big on Thomas this year. I don't. I'm all about buying the dip when I still believe in the guy and the situation, but I'm not into buying the dip here on Thomas with an ADP around 80, let's call it, wide receiver 38. We've got him a little above that 36, but you could take him. I could take him or leave him. I might take him maybe especially if the vibes are pretty good in a week or so. But I'm in my old age, I am just fascinated by finding the next guys. Like
yeah.
once a guy's good, I'm like, I'm done with that guy. Everybody knows he's good. I'm moving on to the next guy.
Finding the next Jamar Chase, maybe Sky Moore. So it's wishful thinking on that one. That's big shoes to fill, but I mean,
that's big. That's big. But yeah, mark my words though, Sky Moore is going to be pretty special.
Yeah, I mean, we'll take Anquan Bolden's rookie year out of him. So something like that.
Interesting you say that because Andy Reid said that he's talked about his big legs, like he's got legs like a running back, and Anquan Bolden was kind of the same way.
That's okay. All right, I'll take that one. I'll take a little on that one. So I got a funny question before we transition to the kind of the fantasy industry. I've noticed that I know you and Adam Kaplan are longtime friends, and you often call him Mr. C. And I wonder, is that a nod to Happy Days?
No, you know what? I think it might be actually. Now that I think about it, I think it probably is. Yeah, I think because it worked. It worked obviously because they're both Mr. C. I think you're right. Yeah, that's a great call. It's one of those things where it happened so long ago, I forgot of the origin of it, but I think that is correct.
Well, yeah, Familia for those who haven't watched Happy Days on Nickelodeon. Fonzie, the great Fonzie, would call Mr. Cunningham Mr. C. So, so I know that would be high praise for Adam. But
Mrs. C.
Mrs. C, yes, Marion Ross, one of the great actresses, man. But yeah, so I'm glad I got this one. So I kind of wanted to ask about the fantasy industry. I'm fascinated what you saw back in the 90s, when kind of like I don't know if you could project that far, but what was it that made you think I want to kind of hitch my wagon to this industry?
Yeah, that's a great one. Good way to kind of frame it. And I do have a very good answer. I always kind of had a really good feel as a kid to pop culture and what the next new thing is, whether it's a song or a show or whatever. I'm always kind of liking being ahead of the curve and all that. And I was looking for my niche. I was looking for something to kind of take on, and like a dream or whatever, like a business though too. I was trying to make money. I had a young kid, and I just really thought to myself, like, well, I know that I am completely obsessed with this. Like I'm in. Like I am. This is ridiculously fun. This is so much better than like anything ever, really. So I realized that since if I felt that way, then I knew a lot of other people would. I just to mass appeal. I had a very good feel for the impending mass appeal. I'm like, this thing is going to be freaking huge. And I started in '87.
Oh, wow.
But I will
New
say,
newspaper days.
I technically got my start on this TV show I did in New Jersey, and I started, going on there as, the guy in my league called me the guru. He's like, "You're like the guru, man. You like make all these unbelievable picks." Like, yeah. I tell the guy at this TV station where I was working in radio, I said, "Oh, you should have me on the show." They call me the guru in the league. Well, let me tell you, in 1993, 94, we got a lot of calls from people looking for fantasy advice. So much so that in 95, going into that year, I had like a following. I'm like, I'm going to start a little newsletter and sell my advice just to the listening audience. So believe it or not, in 93, 94, there was plenty of interest in fantasy football. And again, I had been playing it up at that point for like 7 years. So I was very much not an expert, but I knew everything.
Oh, that's fast. So was it just football, or did you also do baseball or basketball? Was it?
Just football.
Yeah.
I ended up delving into other sports after that, but nothing ever as I thought. I never really went that crazy into anything else. Gambling now and DFS has changed it, but I'm talking way back. Oh, you should do baseball and basketball. I'm like, no. Football was, I saw that too. Like, you might have a little time off in November, or February, but it's like year-round thing, pretty much.
It really is. And you know what? The thing, I think when it comes to content creation, it seems like everything is perfect for it, because it's just like everything builds to the one, you got a whole week to build up to it. On the baseball side, it's like you got, 12
Right.
hours. And it's just like,
Yeah, that's true. It's brutal.
I've
Yeah, that's a
listened to
good point.
shows. Yeah, if you don't listen to a show the day of, and it's like you're lost. It's
Right.
you may as well move on. So that was interesting, because and the one, and now as far as making it's funny, kind of like making it in the industry now, it compared to then. I feel like it's easier and harder at the same time. Is that,
Yeah.
do you kind of, okay, so I'm
No,
not crazy in thinking that.
no, absolutely not. It's easier for anyone in any content entertainment field to get their message out. I mean, I have my oldest son just, hadn't been playing music for like 10 years, and he just decided recently, I think I'm going to make an album. And he wrote an EP, 6 songs, produced them all himself, and it's on Apple, and Spotify. That's so now it's up to him, I guess, to get it out there. But the mechanisms to get your stuff out there compared to the old days was just absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, it absolutely was easier then, and I think the way to know that is true is because a lot of the people who were in on the ground floor of the analysis side of it, they're no longer around. They didn't last. There's really not that many. Like if you were to take the fantasy sports industry from 1998, and called up the top 100 movers and shakers of the industry. I mean, I would have been on there. The number of people still around is probably under 10.
Wow.
So as it evolved, the marketplace it was a survival of the fittest Darwinian thing going on there. And you'd be damn sure I'm going to be surviving out there no matter what. So I did whatever I took. But there were a lot of people that, maybe they were in their analysis was up to snuff in 97, but let's check back in 07 or 17. And it's like, no, man, like we're, you know what I mean? So in that regard, it was easier then because there just were no experts, no other experts. That's really the crux of the matter.
So was it kind of like stubbornness, perseverance, or just love of the game that kept, or a combination of all those things that kept you going?
Definitely a combination. Stubborn is in that, but more like just survival to support my family. I mean, that's literally why I started all this thing as a side gig. I did it on the side for 5 years, and then I finally, and this is a long ass time ago, like 2000, I had to quit my job. I'm like, I was going to work during the season at like 2 PM because I was up to like 4:30 working. So I did, yeah. So mostly survival, but yeah, a love of it for sure is still keeps me going. Like this is why I'm just so all in on homing in on finding, and I've always been this way, but even more so now. Like there's not much else to get excited about. Like when you've been around, when you're an old dinosaur. You've been there, done that. So what gets me going is keeping that search on for the breakout player and the sleeper and the diamond in the rough, the home run pick, the pick that people will never forget. That is what I'm all about.
And you know what? And today it's like, there are so many avenues to get yourself out there, but I mean, it's just now there's so many people who've declared themselves experts. I mean,
it's fragmented. It's very hard to stand out. Extremely hard.
What kind of advice do you give people who are?
By the way, everyone's lifting off everybody else. Then you have the group think and the fantasy Twitter. It's really annoying. I'm sure there are plenty of independent thinkers out there, but I just don't consume any of it, and that I try to avoid all of it. My best advice would be simply just be the most yourself that you could possibly be, and sink or swim with that. So, because I mean, I'm talking more personality. Your analysis obviously needs to be good, but your presentation, your personality, whatever, be yourself, and that's it. Do not try and be anything you're not. If you're weird, be weird. If you talk like a librarian or like NPR, roll with that. Like that's your deal. You know what I mean? I think that's the best advice in almost anything, honestly. Be yourself.
And that's kind of part of the reason what, I started this thing is, just, I didn't see any Latino faces out there doing it in English. And that was the one thing. It was kind of like a little bit of, hey, you know what? I'll throw some Spanglish out there. I'm never going to throw it out there so much that it's going to throw people off. And people always want to talk about food anyway. So I'm going to ask you a food question at the end. So it's
well, one of my favorite restaurants is a Kalo Kitchen and Tequila in El Segundo, and it's got amazing nachos, and I love that place. So I'm a big fan of the cuisine.
Oh, got it. Oh, yeah, you're making me hungry.
Right on Rosecrans. You probably drove right by it.
I think I've been there. I've been. It's probably been about 20 years, but I know exactly where. I know exactly what you're talking about. I think I may have watched Monday Night Football there once. Yeah, it's. But yeah, that was the thing, and you know what? I'm glad you pointed that out, because it's kind of like that. You know, I'd like to think that when I'm right, I'm just, I don't know if my batting average is any better than anybody else's, but I'm gonna own when I'm wrong, and I'm gonna be happy when I'm right. If I
Yeah,
throw a
and what
little,
you should do, maybe you do this, and I wasn't unaware, is, I don't know your personality all that well. Obviously, you you're like you're like a newsman almost, like the way you present, but to the Latino, like I would get as much Latino flair involved in the analysis as possible. You know what I mean? Whether, I know it's been used before, but this guy's in fuego. You know what I mean? Whatever. Like, I
yes,
mean, just see, if I were you, that's what I would do. I would have all these Latin flary terms and phrases and sounds to replicate and speak to what's going on in fantasy football.
and that's, what's funny is, like, when I get someone like Edwin on, we'll throw around a lot more Spanish than I'm going to throw on with someone who doesn't normally speak Spanish. I also have my
All I know
cousins.
is the curse words.
We could get away with those on here. So yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I learned a few extras when I was in the Dodger clubhouse over the years. So yeah, that is true. And you know what? I'm glad you pointed that out. And I'm going to lean into that a little bit more. My cousins are coming back onto the show, and we throw Spanglish at one another in analysis, and they come on more during redraft season. Now that we're getting into redraft season, they come back onto the show, and I'm not so reliant on guests. But here's the kind of the chicken and the egg question: is it more important to build a Twitter presence or create content? Kind of on this, because it seems like
Well, I would. I mean, this would. I don't know if this totally applies to people you and our age, our
uh-huh.
age, but definitely for the younger people, it would be more important than Twitter for sure to create content on YouTube.
Yes.
That's where everyone is. So I would say YouTube. I mean, Twitter's, how do you stand out on Twitter? I don't think it's that easy. I don't even
Yeah.
know how the hell I have the followers I have, because I'm a terrible follow. But I tell you exactly how I did it. I used to be crazy on Twitter. Like,
Okay.
I mean, I've been on there for so long now. It's like I'm like a different person from when I joined Twitter. I used to like be a little crazy in 09. And I got a lot of followers quickly, and then I just like crickets basically. I am a shitty follow. There's absolutely no doubt about it. But somehow I retain it. But it's even the best people on Twitter, I've noticed, like the people who really work there, they don't grow much.
Yeah.
So there ain't no growth on Twitter. So I
That's
would look to grow on YouTube.
okay. Well,
Or yeah,
that's why I'm glad we're on here.
yeah, exactly.
uh so that's all really cool. Now, I got one thing. How do you stay current, with so much, because I don't see you losing anything off your fastball.
Yeah. Well, honestly, doing the pressure of doing a daily 3 hour a day,
Right.
5 days a week, 52 week a year show, that pretty much does it right there. So I'm always, I have to be dialed in, So yeah, that right there, that right there, just keeps me on my toes. But it is interesting somehow. I don't even, I'm doing less and less and less than compared to what I used to. I just literally cannot do it physically. But I'm whittling it almost down now to just the brass tacks. Like, who the hell do I draft and who do I not draft? I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's where I'm at right now. So I can't work the way I used to. I can't write as much. I can't grind like I used to. That's why all the other guys they're doing the heavy lifting. But I do write plenty on the
Oh yeah.
site. But it's a little bit more of like my little pocket of like, all right, this is what I think. We have a little bit more of the consensus rankings and all that. But that's always been a challenge in content. Like, is it just one person's opinion? Is it a consensus? What is it? You know what I mean? Is it a bunch of randos? You know what I mean? So we try and find a happy balance. But for decades on the other website, it was just, I mean, whatever I said went. I mean, that was it. Like that, we're doing it.
That's a great part about being the el hombre, the head honcho. So that's awesome. So you mentioned, you talked about DFS and gambling. Is that where like the next, I mean, I feel like DFS, and I feel like I'm hearing way more about best ball this year than before. Are those kind of like the growth areas along with gambling, especially when a state like California gets gambling?
Oh yeah, for sure, and all kinds of different hybrid things that you find out there. Stat Hero, and all these other somewhat fantasy kind of DFS type of games. But yeah, you're talking to a guy who owned the URL playerprops.com in the 90s right here. I thought it was going to be a big thing. Well, a lot sooner than it was, like by a decade maybe or more. But I had that damn thing for a while, and I just never had a time to really look into doing anything with it. But I'm like, someday player props are going to be big, and that's my wheelhouse, and that's why I bought it. So I'm not a huge gambling guy actually, but I am a player prop guy because again, I did an article in the preseason. I laid out, I don't know, it was my 50 favorite season-long props for players, and it was like 64%. I felt like I was going to be like 80%. Like it was just nailing stuff left and right, So that I think is a big, the people, the fantasy people who love the fantasy are going to love the props. It's just a natural progression. It's been a little slower than I thought, but it's still seemingly going pretty well.
Yeah, I think once gambling is more widespread, especially in California. I mean, once California comes in, I knew New York would be big, and now I think California is kind of like the next big hill, and then things are just going to be huge. And speaking of huge,
Jersey, man, we got legal weed, we got
yes,
legal gambling, we got the ocean. We have mountains as well.
Hey, Springsteen came to California and moved back, so that's got to be saying something. So yes.
Springsteen is literally now probably about 40 miles north up the Atlantic from where I'm at right now.
Oh gosh. Oh man, you give me plenty of reason to come out there. I got a fantasy points question, and I'd love to get into Dodgers for a few minutes, but our shared Dodger fandom. Only it's a little more than 2 years. And I know launching during a pandemic, Joe Dolan, told me this story about, launching in the pandemic, and people were like, why are you doing this? It's like, well, it's not like we just came up with this idea. But now all of a sudden, this growth, exponential growth, what are the sense of pride, accomplishment? What is the feeling seeing the growth, adding the college football, adding the golf, adding these customized these customized research tools that are going to be coming out soon? What's the feeling on that?
Fear, absolute fear and dread that things won't go perfectly to plan. So this is a big year for us. We kind of like didn't go overboard, with the pandemic, and didn't try to bite off more than we could chew, and presented a nice, clean website that was very simple yet sophisticated. Some tools, again, simple yet sophisticated, and just let's not screw it up, basically. And I think we accomplished that very, very well. Like no real complaints with tech issues and the site going down, so that was number one. And now it's time to like take a bite here. And that's what we're doing. So yeah, it's a little scary, but it's also exciting and it keeps the juices flowing here. So we're kind of bracing for almost anything to happen. But we know long term, and I'm sure it'll go well. Long term, we know that we got an absolute winner. And I'm not going to be around forever because I'm old, but I have set up the groundwork here with the core and what we've done for this thing to stick around for a while. Now I will always be around, not always, but there will come a time, and it could be a lot sooner than people think, where I will retire from SiriusXM and I will not do TV. And the only place you'll get anything on my thoughts on any damn pick will be fantasypoints.com. That will be coming pretty soon.
Well, you know what? Come on. Vin Scully went till age 88, so I'll give you a couple more.
Yeah, but I got to enjoy my life a little bit at some point.
Yes, I'll give you that. You got the Jersey Shore. You got to enjoy that. We got to shared fandom. This is one of the things that I really wanted to have you on. Shared fandom of the Dodgers. I came across them growing up in LA, but you came across them across the country. And how did that happen? And who were your guys growing up?
So I grew up and was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1968. And older brother and sister were Mets fans. Now, my mom was a Giants fan growing up, season tickets.
Ooh.
She was actually at Willie Mays' first game at the Polo Grounds. He joined the team on the road, so she didn't catch his first game as a Giant, but she caught like his third game as a Giant, the first game at the Polo Grounds. So I think my mom was like 12. I have a great Willie Mays story. I met him once when I was 12. And then my dad actually also had season tickets to the Giants too. So that's the backdrop. So of course my kids were Mets fans, like not going to like the Yankees.
Okay,
the
good.
Mets were born out of the Dodgers and the Giants leaving, but they were ball breakers, So when I was 6 years old, I was a bigger ball breaker. I went to my mom. I said, who can I root for that is the furthest team away from the Mets? And my mom said, well, actually, the Dodgers used to play a mile from our house. And I saw the blue. Actually, no, I saw Dodge. I saw Brooklyn Dodge. I saw it somewhere. I'm like, what? Why don't we root for these guys? It was like right around the same time where I said what I previously said. And I'll put them together like, whoa. They're blue. Like that. They used to be in our town. And they're not the Mets. I'm like, that's it. That's my team. That was it. And that was my team.
Oh, man. And who were your guys?
Oh, Garvey.
Oh,
that was my guy. I mean, Garvey was the guy. I mean, when Garvey won, what was it, the MVP in 74. Now, I was pretty young then. I was like 6. But, by the time I was 9 playing Little League Baseball, that would have been 77. Garvey was a perennial all-star. He had 30 home runs that year, in fact. Gold Glove winner. I mean, 300, 30 home runs, 100 RBIs, 100 runs, and I win a Gold Glove.
Don't forget 200 hits, too.
My favorite baseball stat is 200 hits. And Garvey would get that. He probably got it 6 times in 9 years.
Oh, one of the all-time greats and absolute gentleman. Absolute gentleman. I had the pleasure. Have you had the pleasure to meet him?
I have not met him. No.
Oh man, I may have to try and make that happen. I
love to say, and I mean, Fernando, of course, is like iconic. I mean, just it was a perfect storm for me and you too.
Yeah.
The age we were. I was 12 years old when that happened. I mean, you can't come up with a better age than that to enjoy Fernando Mania when the Dodgers are literally your life.
Oh, it was, and me being the son of Mexican immigrants,
Oh,
and
I
for
can't even imagine.
it was, I mean, he gave us hope. He gave us hope of
Yes.
making it in the world, and I actually told him thank you for that. He was special. Garvey, one of the great memories that I had with Garvey was my first opening day. Garvey was first opening day working for the team in 2006. My family is in, my mom, huge Dodger fan dating back to the 70s. My wife and my sister and my oldest daughter, who's now 18. But she was 2 at the time. So they're all tending to the little girl. And Garvey walks by my office, and it's probably about 45 minutes to game time. Hey, Garv. No, I said, Steve, can you come in and say hello to my family? Sure. Comes in, says hello to my wife, picks up my daughter, gives her a big hug, says hello to my sister. My mom had her back turned, turns around and sees Steve Garvey, and you would have thought she's just saw Elvis.
Yeah.
Just Steve Garvey, throws her arms around him and just like gives him a big kiss on the cheek. And for the longest time after that, he always asked me, "How's your mom? How's your mom?"
Wow.
So
That's nice.
almost, but his hair stayed perfect. But
I was going to say, yeah, guy's got good hair, man.
yeah, great hair. Do you have a favorite memory at Dodger Stadium?
Paintbrush that hair.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was perfect. Perfect. I've told him many times. It's like, if I could have that. Yeah. Any favorite memory at the stadium? Any trips that you've been able to make out?
Oh, I go there all the time. Actually, working out in Los Angeles, I mean, I've averaged the last 5 years probably 4 games a year,
Oh,
5,
perfect.
which is pretty good for an East Coaster. Maybe 5. I went to a playoff game last year. Um, the thing that stands out to me, obviously, I just love the stadium. It's just I can't even describe what it was like for a kid so far and for it to be so far away. It was just so magical to me because it was across the country. And, to go there now and see those palm trees, I assume they're the same palm trees.
Yes, they are.
They are, right? I'm like, those are the palm trees I used to watch when I was 8 years old, on the big game of the week or, Monday Night Baseball, if you
Yep.
recall, or
Oh,
or
yes.
the playoffs. Mostly the playoffs is when you would
Oh,
see them,
oh, oh, man. Yeah, that would just be, it would just be special. It'd be, yeah, and it was 77, 78 against the Phillies. So I'm sure, being in Jersey, that wasn't easy sometimes. So, but
Yep, yep.
thankfully they won.
I was, believe it or not, I recall Fernando's first loss at the hands of the Phillies. I heard it live with the great Harry Gallus, balls out of here, Michael Jack Schmidt off Fernando Valenzuela. I heard it live, man. I cried. I think I cried.
That was a rough one. That was that was a rough one. But I did get to see him hit a shutout. I mean, throw a shutout and hit a bases loaded triple to
Oh,
break
he was
a
a great hitter.
to break open a 1-0 game. And actually, I told him that I was at that game. He gets a big smile on his face because he never liked talking about his pitching. But talk to a pitcher about it hitting, and they're just like, he looks at me, gets a big smile on his face. He goes, "That was my only triple of my career." Big
Wow.
smile. So loved it.
Oh
Loved it.
yeah, man. He just had he had it, man.
Yeah.
He really did. He had it. Like he was an athlete, but he also had the hand-eye coordination. I mean, he had all kinds of stuff going on.
Oh, he just, I mean, yeah, things that they would say that he would like have this little lasso and he'd just like hit guy, get guys and just like almost knock them down, or had a little hacky sack that he could just kick around forever.
I
So,
bet.
and he's now like a scratch golfer. Never took a lesson.
I bet. Yeah, exactly. Some guys just have this extra gene,
Yep.
you know.
Just beautiful. Oh man, John, I could talk to you forever, but I know you got a show to do and tomorrow. But mi amigo, I just need to know any other favorite Mexican food that you got. I know you talked about the nachos at the place in El Segundo. Any other?
Yeah, I generally love the cuisine. I will say I'm a little weird, not that weird, but I don't like things that are too authentic. If that sounds, like if I go to an Italian place in Italy, it's almost like it's too Italian. I need the Americanized version of it. You know, so I definitely need that with I guess Mexican food. But I love salsa and chips. A big burrito guy. I love the seafood.
Mm.
Uh, I love the cerveza. What else? I love the Mexican spin on everything, like clams and mussels.
Oh, yes.
Which are big. They're big here where I am in the East Coast. Clams are huge. Um, what else? Pretty much everything. The chicken, you name it. I mean, pretty much anything. As long as it's not too exotic. It's got to be Americanized a little bit for me.
Yeah, there are some things that get a little too even for me, that they get a little too authentic, so they get a little scary. So
Yeah.
oh, mi amigo, this was awesome. This was just such a blast. I really appreciate the time. We talked about fantasy points. Anything else you want to point out that's going to be coming up?
Oh, well, of course, the whole Fantasy Points data company that we formed is an absolute game changer. And, it's just going to be one of those things that I think is going to seep into consciousness, because it's such a huge, massive undertaking, that we're doing now to build all these really powerful and proprietary type data tools using hardcore data that's just not out there, because we're charting it ourselves, by some of the best charters in the whole business. So that thing's just going to be an absolute game changer. So hopefully we can utilize that power right away this year to make better picks and evaluations, which that process is already starting. So yeah, just continuing to go full force with this data stuff, because it's the gambling, whatever form it is, DFS and the prop, it's all going to come down to data and all that. And of course, I think what the whole interesting dynamic is, I'm not a data guy. That's the thing. Like, I'm weird like that. I come up with the same results as the data people somehow. But I guess I am, but I'm not. Like, I understand it, what it is, and who I understand the players and their data points that are important, but I'm not a numbers person per se. So you add, I guess, my human touch to it all, which can be kind of a game changer with some picks. I'll give you, Darnell Mooney. I did a video on Darnell Mooney. I said he's my breakout player of the year. Now, he was good, not unbelievable, but he was wide receiver 49 per the ADP, and I had him at 31, and he was 21 or something.
Yeah, he had a
Like
great
stuff
year.
like that. So it's like the complete package: data, numbers, film, insider information with Kaplan and Cosell, and then just hardcore, like old school gut, with me. And I'm considering everything. So I think that's the package right there. It's kind of like the dream team, if you will.
Oh, the dream team, just like that team the Olympic team in 1992. Yeah, just definitely a dream team. And I've had the pleasure of having several of the dream team on as guests, and I've been able to interact with everybody, obviously on Discord and everything like that. So it's been awesome to be part of the Fantasy Points Familia. So I again appreciate it so much, and I appreciate our invitado, and thank you everybody for watching. I'm also going to let's close up shop right here, because this was todo for our show. Make sure you're going to fantasypoints.com, put in that promo code Familia22, and get 10% off. You're going to enjoy this. And also, please make sure when you go to YouTube, Familia FFB, make sure you give us a like and subscribe. We'll be there to take, we're getting more subscribers all the time, so we really appreciate it. And if you're going to the audio, go to the Anchor, go to Apple, Google, Spotify. We'll be right there for you. just subscribe. Or you can go to me at Jorge Martin 17, and on Twitter I push out all our content that way. I throw out a few things here, through little tidbits here and there, and articles that I'm going to be publishing. So please make sure to check that out. So again, to our invitado, John Hansen, it was an incredible pleasure, as I would say in Spanish, as my family would say in Spanish. Fue un gran placer. We'll save the bad words for after the show. And
yeah, it was great time, George. Great conversation.
thank you so much. And everybody remember, todos somos familia. Salud.